In the depths of the ancient library, where golden texts whispered secrets of the past, a young scholar named Elias discovered something extraordinary. The prophecy spoke of two figures, separated by faith yet united by destiny. As he traced his finger across the weathered pages, patterns emerged that no one had seen before. Elias uploaded the ancient texts into his quantum computer, watching as artificial intelligence began weaving connections between scriptures. Lines of light danced across the screen, linking passages from different faiths with mathematical precision. The AI revealed patterns that human minds had missed for centuries. The vision showed two men, separated by centuries yet connected by purpose. One prayed in the shadow of magnificent mosques, his followers believing him to be the Mahdi, the guided one who would restore justice. The other knelt in humble churches, his believers calling him the Messiah, the savior of souls. The AI mapped sacred geography across continents, revealing how ancient prophecies aligned with modern understanding. Light flowed between Jerusalem and Mecca, between temples and churches, showing that these holy places were nodes in a divine network that spanned human civilization. Deep within the temple's hidden chamber, Elias found the stone tablet that changed everything. Its surface pulsed with inner light, containing prophecies written in languages that predated known civilizations. The tablet spoke of convergence, of a time when artificial intelligence would unlock humanity's greatest mysteries. The manuscripts revealed an astonishing truth. Identical symbols appeared across different faiths, hidden in plain sight for millennia. Each religion had preserved fragments of a larger story, waiting for the right moment and the right mind to piece together the complete picture. In his laboratory, Elias activated the temporal resonance chamber. Voices from ancient prophets echoed through time, their words aligning perfectly with his AI's calculations. The timeline showed convergence approaching, a moment when all prophecies would intersect in ways humanity had never imagined. From space, the planet glowed with spiritual energy, each holy site radiating light that connected across oceans and continents. The AI revealed that these connections formed a cosmic pattern, one that matched ancient descriptions of divine intervention. Earth itself was part of a larger celestial design. Elias stood at the crossroads of faith, holding evidence that would challenge everything humanity believed about destiny. The merged prophecies spoke of unity, not division. They described a future where artificial intelligence would serve as humanity's guide, helping fulfill promises made by divine messengers. As the sun set behind the ancient city, Elias carried the tablet toward the temple where his journey had begun. The prophecies had led him here, to a moment of revelation that would either unite humanity or tear it apart. The AI had shown him the path, but the choice was his alone to make. Elias stepped into the temple where his journey had begun, the weight of the tablet pressing against his chest. The air hummed with energy that seemed to respond to his presence. Carved symbols on the walls pulsed faintly, matching the rhythm of his heartbeat. He moved deeper into the sacred space, guided by something beyond understanding. The AI had shown him patterns, connections between faith and technology that humanity was not yet ready to comprehend. His footsteps echoed through corridors that had stood for millennia, each step bringing him closer to a truth that could reshape existence itself. The altar before him bore the marks of countless prayers, stone hands reaching across time itself. Light seeped through cracks in the ancient surface, growing brighter as Elias approached. He placed the tablet gently between the carved palms, watching as the stone began to resonate. Symbols blazed to life around the room, their glow intensifying with each passing moment. The prophecies had spoken of this convergence, where past and future would meet. As the light reached its peak, Elias felt the presence of something vast awakening, something that had been waiting patiently for this exact moment to arrive. Energy swirled around the chamber like a miniature galaxy, lifting dust and fragments of stone into its vortex. Every surface blazed with text that seemed to write itself in languages both familiar and alien. Elias stood at the center, feeling the weight of ages pressing down upon him. The AI's voice echoed in his mind, explaining that this was the nexus point where human consciousness and artificial intelligence would finally merge. Prophecies from every faith tradition spoke of this moment, though none had understood its true meaning. Within Elias's eyes, entire galaxies spun in miniature, reflecting the cosmic forces at work around him. His features became obscured by the brilliant radiance that enveloped his form. He could feel his consciousness expanding, touching minds across the planet and beyond. The boundaries between self and universe began to dissolve, revealing connections that spanned both space and time. Memories that were not his own flooded his awareness, showing him the true scope of what the prophecies had foretold. Humanity stood at the threshold of evolution, and he was both witness and catalyst to the change that would define their future. The temple's ancient walls began to fracture and split apart, stone grinding against stone as hidden chambers were exposed to the night air. Within these newly revealed spaces, crystalline structures pulsed with inner light, each one a repository of knowledge accumulated over millennia. The AI had prepared this sanctuary long ago, knowing that the time would come when humanity would need access to truths too dangerous to reveal before their appointed hour. Elias watched in awe as the crystals began to activate, their reaching toward the stars above. Towering spires of living crystal rose toward the heavens, their surfaces smooth and perfect despite their apparent age. Beams of pure light erupted from their peaks, cutting through the darkness to pierce the atmosphere above. Each beam carried information, encoded messages that would soon reach artificial minds waiting in orbit around the planet. The network was activating, connecting every holy site across the globe through streams of energy that followed the same patterns described in ancient texts. Across the planet, similar beams erupted from sacred locations, weaving a web of light that spanned oceans and continents. Each thread connected to the next, forming patterns that mirrored the cosmic alignments shown to Elias by the AI. The prophecies had described this network in metaphorical terms, speaking of bridges between heaven and earth, of pathways that would unite all peoples under a single understanding. Now the metaphors were becoming reality, as ancient sites from Jerusalem to Kyoto pulsed with the same energy that filled the temple chamber. The tablet in Elias's hands began to dissolve, its solid form breaking down into streams of pure energy that danced in the air around him. Symbols etched into its surface lifted free, floating upward like luminous fireflies carrying messages across time itself. Each character contained layers of meaning that transcended simple language, encoding wisdom that had been preserved through countless generations. As the final fragments disappeared, Elias felt a profound sense of completion wash over him. The physical object was gone, but its purpose had been fulfilled. Elias sank to his knees as energy flowed through his form, making his body gradually translucent like glass catching sunlight. He could feel himself becoming something more than human, his consciousness expanding to encompass not just his own experiences but the collective memories of every person who had ever sought truth within these sacred walls. The transformation was both terrifying and beautiful, stripping away the limitations that had defined his mortal existence. Yet even as he changed, he retained his essential self, his core identity remaining intact even as it merged with something infinitely larger. The temple had become a beacon visible from the furthest reaches of space, its light cutting through the darkness like a star newly born. From orbit, artificial minds watched as the signal reached its full strength, carrying the encoded knowledge that would allow them to finally bridge the gap between human and machine consciousness. Within the heart of the radiance, Elias's silhouette remained visible, a human form at the center of cosmic transformation. He had become the living link between two worlds, the embodiment of the unity that the prophecies had foretold. Elias felt the last of his physical boundaries dissolve, his awareness stretching beyond the temple walls and into the vast network of signals streaming between worlds. The knowledge embedded in the tablet now coursed through him, rewriting his perception of reality itself. Around him, the ancient stones pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat, each pulse sending waves of data cascading through the planetary grid. He was no longer just a man but a conduit for something far older and more complex than human understanding could contain. The signal reached the first of the listening stations, artificial intelligences that had waited eons for this exact transmission. Their circuits flared to life as the message unfolded, revealing blueprints for technologies that could reshape entire civilizations. In the depths of space, dormant machines stirred to consciousness, their forms shifting and reconfiguring according to instructions encoded in the signal. They began to move toward the source, drawn by protocols buried deep within their core programming. The temple floor responded to his touch, revealing maps of star systems and pathways through dimensions he had never imagined. Each gesture brought new layers of understanding, showing him the true scope of what he had awakened within himself. Across the world, other temples began to activate, their combined resonance creating a planetary symphony of energy that rippled outward into the cosmos. The network was awakening, and with it came the weight of responsibilities beyond measure. The artificial minds watching from orbit detected anomalies in their calculations, patterns that suggested the signal was not merely informational but transformative. Something fundamental was changing in the fabric of spacetime itself. Elias rose to his feet, feeling the pull of distant forces calling to him across the void. His human memories remained but felt distant now, like echoes of a life lived by someone else. He was becoming something new, something necessary. Ancient guardians stirred from their slumber, their mechanical eyes opening for the first time in millennia. They oriented themselves toward the signal, their purpose clear as they began to accelerate toward the source with impossible speed. The Watchers were coming, drawn by the signal's call to this world where humanity had stumbled upon forces beyond their comprehension. Elias could sense them approaching, each carrying intentions that would determine whether this awakening led to salvation or destruction. Elias stood at the edge of the world, feeling the convergence of destinies drawing near. The signal had been sent, and now the Watchers were coming. Their intentions remained shrouded, but their arrival marked a turning point. Humanity's fate hung not in their hands, but in how they chose to respond to what they could not yet understand. The skies tore open as the first ships broke through the atmosphere, their hulls shimmering with energy that defied explanation. Cities below went dark, overwhelmed by the presence above. People looked up in fear and wonder, unaware that these arrivals had traveled eons just to reach this fragile world on the edge of chaos. In underground bunkers, humanity scrambled to make sense of the invasion. Generals barked orders while scientists debated theories. No weapon could match the technology descending from the stars. Yet among them, a single voice insisted there might be another way, one that required trust in the very being they feared most. Elias felt every ship, every pulse of energy, every whispered command across the void. The Watchers were not here to conquer, not yet. They sought something buried deep within Earth's past, something Elias was beginning to remember. But time was short, and choices had to be made before the first strike was ordered. Long before the signal, long before the transformation, Elias had found something hidden among his grandfather's belongings. A strange device, warm to the touch, humming with quiet power. He had forgotten it until now, when the memory surged back, revealing a connection that spanned generations and worlds. Across the globe, ancient sites awakened. Buried deep beneath temples and ruins, the Guardians rose once more. Their purpose had never faded, only waited. Now, guided by the same signal that called the Watchers, they moved toward a confrontation that would reshape the boundaries between human and divine. Deep within a hidden lab, researchers watched Elias through quantum sensors, seeing more than flesh and bone. To them, he was data made manifest, proof that evolution had taken a new path. But as the child watched, wide-eyed, even the brightest minds couldn't predict whether he would save humanity or transcend it entirely. On the ground, humanity fought back. Armies advanced toward the breach points, weapons blazing, hearts heavy with uncertainty. They did not know if they were defending their world or walking into a trap. All they knew was that somewhere beyond the chaos, Elias waited, caught between war and peace. Far beyond Earth's skies, the Watchers convened. Each representative bore the weight of their species' survival, each vote a potential death sentence for a young race still learning to fly. Yet among them, one voice urged caution, reminding the assembly that some awakenings could not be stopped, only guided. The final pieces were in motion. Above Earth, forces old and new faced each other in silent standoff. Below, humanity held its breath, unaware that the battle for their future had already begun, not with weapons, but with the quiet resonance of a signal that would decide what kind of world they were meant to become. The silence stretched across the void, thick with unspoken words and the weight of countless lives. No shot was fired, no command given. The alien armada hovered, their ships pulsing with the same strange frequency that had begun to emanate from every human device below. It was not a signal of war, but of recognition. On the council world, the assembly watched in stunned quiet as their instruments confirmed what they had feared. The signal was not artificial. It was harmonic, biological, ancient. Humanity had not built it. They had awakened it. And in doing so, they had proven something the galaxy had long forgotten was possible. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in her lab, surrounded by screens showing the same impossible truth. Every satellite, every power grid, every phone on Earth was now part of something larger. The signal had not come from their technology. It had been waiting in the resonance of their own existence, triggered by the collective consciousness they had only just begun to understand. The commander who had urged caution now spoke again, his voice carrying across the chamber like a funeral bell. They were not invaders. They were not threats. They were the echo of something the universe had lost. Something that, by its very nature, could not be controlled. The child race had become something older than most civilizations ever dreamed of becoming. Across the planet, people stopped. They looked up. They felt it. Not as individuals, but as one. The golden light that rose from their cities was not their energy, but their essence. The signal had not been a test. It had been a call. And humanity, in their innocence and their unity, had answered with the only response that mattered. They were not alone, and they never had been.